going on, everybody? My name's Harry James. Last week when I joked that we took Texas Tech's, so they took one of ours, well, in fact, Mr. Matt Wells never played at Oklahoma, but he does have some deep Oklahoma roots. The native from Sallisaw, Oklahoma. Find out what Coach Wells has to work with in Lubbock. We'll preview the Texas Tech Red Raiders next. Boomer Sunday 1982. Don't go away. We welcome you back to the show, everybody. My name's Harry James. The Red Raiders of Texas Tech play their home games at Jones AT&T Stadium out in Lubbock, Texas. Last year in Lubbock had a 5-7 record in Lubbock with a 3-6 Big 12 conference record that tied them with the Kansas State Wildcats and the Oklahoma State Cowboys. And it left them bowlless and coachless after Cliff Kingsbury was released out of his contract. But it did not happen before the season was over. 2017 was okay. They did get the win over the Oklahoma State Cowboys in Stillwater, 41-17. So one more win probably would have gotten them to a bowl game in that Oklahoma State and Kansas State both played in bowls last year. That didn't happen. That caused the Raiders to relieve Cliff Kingsbury, and they brought in Matt Wells to head coach the Raiders. Matt Wells, a Sallisaw, Oklahoma native. Well, here's what Mr. Coach Wells has to work with as he comes to Norman. He has a returning quarterback, actually. Number 10, Alan Bowman. Not bad as a quarterback last year. Passed, when it was all said and done, passed for 2,638 yards, 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. 66 was his longest pass. His yards per ball game were at 329.75 and only had 8 starts last year. Remember, Oklahoma, I believe it was his rib cage, repunctured those ribs in that ball game and punctured them first. I believe it was either TCU or Texas early in the season. Came back late in the year. Played in the Oklahoma State game for a half before leaving the game at halftime. Well, when you pass for 2,000 yards with him, you got to have a pretty good solid running game to help out. They do. Jeff Duffy, number 7, Jeff Duffy actually is the backup quarterback, but still had 79 carries to go with 447 yards, 3 touchdowns. His longest run of the year was 38 yards. And he averaged 46.13 yards on the ground per ball game last year, again in his 8 starts. The rushing game also considered a 27 Joshua Kelly in there. 86 carries, 372 yards, 8 touchdowns, 23 along, 31 was his yard average last year per ball game, and he had 11 games last year. So action in 11 games. The wide receivers for the Bowman and Duffy threw to, they include number 9, J.T. Vasher, and 37, Seth Collins. We'll start with Vasher. T.J. Vasher, number 9, T.J. Vasher, 54 pops as far as receptions when it was all said and done, to go with 687 yards in the air, 7 touchdowns. 37 was his longest reception last year. He averaged 62.45 yards per ball game in 11 games. Now, Seth Collins played in 12 games last year for the Raiders. Number 22, Seth Collins, 32 receptions to go with 317 yards in the air, 2 touchdowns. 32 was his longest pass. He averaged 26.42 yards per ball game last year in 12 games. And defensively, is where I think that Coach Wells is really going to make a staple for himself, really going to make a name for himself. Everybody thinks that, offensively is where he put his name in this stuff at Utah State, and that is, but they still played some gritty defense at Utah State. Helping him bring that grittiness to Lubbock won't be easy, but it gets easier with number 1, Jordan Brooks, and number 6, Rico Jeffers returning. We'll start with numero uno, Jordan Brooks, 84 tackles at the end of the day. Didn't have any forced fumbles or fumbles recovered. Did have an interception from his linebackers core, all in 12 games. Also linebacker, 6, Rico Gathers, 71 tackles when it was all said and done. Did have 1 forced fumble, 2 fumbles recovered. Didn't have any interceptions, however. In 12 games also did he play in. All right, now let's talk about the coaching staff, and that does include the head coach, the Oklahoma native, Sallisaw, Oklahoma native, Matt Wells. A Utah State grad, graduated from there in 1996, and has spent the last few years in Aggieland back with Utah State, his alma mater. Spent time there from 2013 to 2018, all at Utah State, before accepting the position in 2019 to the Red Raiders of Texas Tech. His coaching staff his coaching wins include 65 games with 44 wins and 34 losses. That is a 56.4% winning clip. His bowl record is dead even, 2-2 at 4 games. Division titles for the Raiders, one of them. Remember the one in 2008? That's the one when they tied Texas and Oklahoma. In fact, Oklahoma won the outright title by straight slashing Tech. When, in fact, Leach was the quarterback's coach that night in Norman. With that being said, they don't have any conference titles to talk about, so that is non-applicable for the Raiders of Tech. All right, well, next week, speaking of coaches coming, what about one coach that actually comes back to the Big 12? Spent some time in the Big 12, went out to the SEC with a stint there, now is back in Big 12 land in Lawrence, Kansas, and that is the Mad Hatter. Les Miles, people. He's back, he's fierce, and he's at the University of Kansas Rock Chalk Jayhawk. We'll preview the Jayhawks of Kansas next week. But for as far as this week and the Red Raiders of Texas Tech, thanks for watching. My name's Harry James. You can catch this and all my other videos on the YouTube, Boomer Sooner 1982. I also put them out on Twitter, SoonerFan OK, and on my Facebook page, Harry James Taylor. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to catch out all my blogs that I try to get out every day. And as always guys, Boomer Sooner everybody. I'm out of here. Peace!